Time for Media Watch. James Creedon is here. Good evening, James. Now, The Guardian, of course, like many newspapers, finds it difficult sometimes when you're in the thick of things to get a proper view, so they've turned to London correspondents of European papers to get their take on the UK general election.
A little bit of distance from things to see what the London correspondents are saying. And one who they spoke to is the Le Monde's Philippe Bernard. Now, he is looking at the debate on Europe in the UK election, and the fact that whether the UK stays in or out of Europe is an issue that's being debated. The Conservatives have said they'll hold a referendum on it. Labour says they won't. UKIP, the party that wants the UK out of the EU, their position is very clear. But he says it's bizarre to see how absent this issue actually is from most of the discussions. And in fact, David Miliband, the head of Labour, who said they won't have a referendum on the issue and they want to stay within the EU, he gave a big foreign policy speech at Chatham House on the issue last week. And there's a deafening silence in the media from the point of view of Philippe Bernard on this issue. Is Britain's position in the world an issue of such secondary importance, he says, that it doesn't deserve to be debated? And he says he can see why David Cameron doesn't want to draw too much attention to the issue because it will play into the hands of UKIP. But as a result, the British people will wake up on the 8th of May, he says, having made a choice on Europe almost subconsciously and without any discussion. So an interesting perspective from a French correspondent in London.
Now, the media being blamed for something else, James, which is the dumbing down of the debate in the run-up to this election.
That's right. So avoiding issues on the one hand, or perhaps not paying enough attention to certain issues, but also where we hope for enlightenment about issues which we vote on, we find gossip about the habits and the style of leaders, an obsession with statistically meaningless shifts in opinion polls, and empty speculation about outcomes. That is the rather damning view of George Monbiot, or Monbiot, also in The Guardian, Melissa.
Now, this general election, meanwhile, James, has been dubbed by some the first social media election.
That's right. A lot has changed since 2010. In 2010, for example, when you take Twitter, about 34% of people in the UK were on it. Now, well over half have a Twitter account. So things certainly have changed in 5 years. A lot of politicians trying to harness social media. In fact, since 2008, when Barack Obama raised almost half of his campaign funds via social media, a lot of offline events were also organised on social media. A lot of parties elsewhere, such as in the UK, are trying to replicate that success. And indeed, it was revealed in February that the Tories, or the Conservative Party, are spending £100,000 a month on Facebook alone. So really, there is a big effort to use social media. But some experts, such as Joe Twyman, speaking to Channel 4, have said, really, if you take Twitter, it seems really that you're preaching to the converted. People tend to follow people with the same points of view. It's an echo chamber in that sense. So really, are you going to manage to convince people via social media? Perhaps not. In any case, it's not stopping them from trying, Melissa, and there has been a certain degree of analysis of who is most successful at trying, and it seems that the Conservatives and David Cameron, in terms of their social media footprint across social media, they are the most present in that regard. Another interesting detail is it seems that groups that feel that they are being let down by mainstream media, they put a particular attention on social media. For example, the Scottish National Party, they're really putting a lot of effort into their online footprint, or their online social media campaign, in order to get around the mainstream media that they might feel are not perhaps paying as much attention to their issues as they'd like.
Now, social media is also being used, James, by some to try to get an idea of how the election might go.
That's right. And again, some are saying that it's a reliable enough indicator. You can see with word clouds, for example, images such as this, which show the words that are most used in various different discussions, the tastes of how voters might, or how the direction in which voters might go. But others are saying demographics, it's just one reason why Twitter data needs to be treated very carefully. In other words, a lot of voters just aren't on Twitter. We said that over 50% of the population is, according to some statistics, which is different from 2010, but older voters, 65 plus, they're really overwhelmingly not on social media, but they overwhelmingly will be going to vote. So it's not necessarily the best indicator.
And we'll be following all of that, of course, tomorrow evening. Thank you very much indeed, James Creedon. A look there at Media Watch.